What up, what up? Welcome to Macallan and Friends, brought to you by Upstream. Glasses up.
Alright, man. You ready for this, man? The bread and butter of Macallan and Friends right here. This is it right here. This is why we started conversations like this, man. So yeah, man. This is episode 7. We're about to get into, I think, a topic we can safely say that's near to the vision and our hearts and kind of direction we want to move, and things we want to talk about, especially coming into the next season, season 2, and kind of the different topics we want to unleash there. But to give an umbrella, kind of like what this all falls under, we're going to be talking today about our society and really the direction it's moving. Yeah. And kind of like these different terms, this different kind of rules that we now got to abide by, right? Is that safe to say, kind of thing? Or
unwritten rules, right?
Unwritten rules, but rules nonetheless.
You better follow them, though,
yeah,
right?
That you better follow in order to fit in with what society, with what the American society is right now.
I mean, there seems to be a little more at stake than just not fitting in if you don't follow these rules.
For sure. That's only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah. Fitting in is just like a small.
If you fit out, that's
yeah. Not fitting in is like, okay, cool. No, it's not just like that. Yeah.
It's not being not part of the cool group. That's not it.
That's not it. Oof, it's way deeper than that. Yeah.
So we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But so the first thing, man, we learning something, man. If we don't jump right into it, we'll be here talking, for a minute, man. So to get right into the first thing, to give you an idea what direction we're going, is this idea of political correctness.
Yes.
Right? Because I think a lot of what we're going to speak about falls into political correctness that I think goes even beyond politics now.
It goes way beyond politics.
That's what's scary about it. Like, political correctness was like a political thing where politicians, let's say, maybe weren't saying the truth or lying in your face.
Or kind of just circling around the question,
that's
using
all
fancy words to circle around questions. Right? We see it in debates a lot.
Exactly.
They'll use a lot of fancy words.
But now, that's in our everyday life, in our culture, in our colleges.
It's embedded in us.
In our streets. It's just everywhere.
Actually, you remember when I spoke, I forgot what episode it was, but I said something around the lines like, we don't remember the brainwashing that they did to us when we were young.
Yeah.
Remember I said that? Yeah. So the political correctness was part of that brainwashing, where it comes from that shaming, where it's like, when you were young, it's like if you don't do or say things the way expected, it's like you get, shaming basically meaning like you get singled out or pointed out for being part of that out group, for not fitting in.
Which is where the names come.
Sex
is big it is. So, you know what I'm saying? These names come because now you don't, not only don't you not fit in, but people need to know that you don't fit in and you're just like a sexist.
I mean, we're programmed to want to fit in every way.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why this makes it so
Which is where political correctness is so powerful.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because most of the people ride the wave of this feels right rather than this is right. I think that's a big core of it, man. You're being driven by how you feel rather than what the facts show.
Ooh, yes.
So I think that's a big core of it. Like, quick example, man. We both know him, my boy. I won't mention names because this podcast, and we gotta take the hits and everything. But he's a teacher, and he mentioned this to me. He said in school
they'll be meeting him. Yeah,
they'll be meeting him. Yeah. But in school, you can no longer play Duck the Goose, bro.
Such a fun game. Why can't you play Duck the Goose?
You know why you can't play Duck the Goose? You want me to tell you?
Please.
Because who gets picked in Duck the Goose?
The slow kid.
The slow kid. What happens when the slow kid gets picked? See, win or lose?
He loses.
And you know what that leads to?
What?
Bullying.
That's... All right. I got a problem with that. All right. Well, first of all,
I'm just telling you. Hey, a teacher told me this.
I wasn't the fastest kid. I was not the fastest kid.
Yeah.
But when you get picked, first of all, you're not losing because you're playing. I think the real loser is the guy that doesn't get picked. Right? It's in Duck the Goose. Once you get picked, you get to stand up and start running. So I don't know how they turn that into a bad way. And also, and the fun part is that once you quote unquote lose, you then get to pick somebody slow as well. And it goes on and on. That's called a circle of life. It's a great game.
Man, it's such a great game. It's an example that's funny, but real to the heart. You know why? Because if you are in that circle where you feel like where you're guarding people from losing. You're guarding them from real life. Like when you grow up, you're gonna lose in life.
You're not gonna be the fastest.
You know
you're not gonna be the smartest.
In life. You know what I'm saying? Like not everything's gonna go your way. So I feel like this is what's scary. Remember when we spoke about how our generation's being raised in our social media episode? This is part of it, although it's not the social media aspect only, but this is part of how our generation is being raised, which is scary because these are our next leaders that you can't offend. You know what I'm saying? That you can't hurt their feelings.
They can't take losses. They can't take losses growing up. So how they gonna?
That's huge right there. So I mean, I bring that example, just bring some life to it, and simple, practical example, but that's scary at the same time. Although it's funny, it's definitely scary.
As far as like political correctness, so like one of my favorite comedians, he's old school, George Carlin. He called it fascism, which is pretty powerful to call political correctness fascism.
Oh yeah, that's a big statement.
That's a big statement. But can you kind of see where he's coming from as far as like calling it fascism, where it's like that total control of
oppression of speech.
It's true oppression of speech.
Is oppression of speech
through shaming
in a more subtle way than fascism.
Exactly. The fascism does it differently, but it does it through shaming, which then shaming ends up being through violence, which is what fascism is.
That's good.
That's an interesting connection. He made that connection like 40 years ago.
Which is when I think of political correctness, is they shame you into saying something because it might be offensive to someone, although it might be true and it might be a reality.
Yes.
So now you can no longer have a productive conversation because you're jumping the gun.
That's a problem right there. It's pretty much you can't offend anyone, but we're living in a society where offending people is so. I mean, as far as what they call offensive, that's the thing. Offensive is it's gonna be subjective to the individual. So what might offend you might not offend me. But man, I guess we'll get into a good time to get into microaggressions now. Yeah, man. And right
beforehand, like the thing what makes me think of political correctness is you can only you can only say what the masses kind of agree with or are in line with, as far as and anything that can be reality. And I think about you can't no longer even make jokes. Remember, like we had this conversation about like growing up, just having conversation with friends, roasting one another, making jokes.
Roasting each other was what we grew up on.
Yeah, you can't do that.
But that doesn't that ultimately like create like thicker skin, make you tougher when you grow up. The kind of things you'll need to ultimately make it in life.
Yeah, I would say. And again, there's a line between, so it doesn't mean there can be some people who you can be aware, like you just don't want to be kind of roasting that person for no reason or whatever. So making fun of, but ultimately in a friendship there should be that.
But there's a difference between roasting and and just actually just speaking to people.
Yeah.
And offending them when you're just genuinely asking regular questions.
Exactly. So that is where I wanted to go. So now going into microaggressions, the scary thing is I gave a clear example. Roasting could be kind of like, okay, let's tone back on that. Slow down. Makes sense. Let's slow down. You're Dean. But with microaggression, this is a good transition because with microaggression, I don't see where that's possible. Where
how you slow down is just not talking, and that's where freedom of speech kind of comes in. Where it's like it's getting to a point where
we enter microaggressions now.
Yeah. So I feel like it's getting to a point now where it's when you're talking to someone you don't know or you're just getting to know, how careful you need to be when you talk. It almost gets in the way of your free speech. It almost and it's impacting. I would like to say it's impacting our society. It's making everybody kind of timid. It's making everybody scared. It's making everybody soft. I mean, right? It's making everybody, extremely scared. Like just scary people. You go to these college campuses, there's a whole lot of freak shows there. I hate saying it like that, but it is the truth. There's a whole lot of freak shows. And
what do you mean freak shows?
Like these social justice warriors, these weird activists, and the things that they're fighting for and the things that they're saying is offending them. It's like, man, and it's hard to tell people that shouldn't offend you. That's like a line.
Yeah, because that's people's feelings.
That's people's feelings.
Yeah.
But can it be my opinion that those feelings are like soft, or
those feelings? Like a word, can it be okay to say this is where it gets tricky? But
we had words for people like that growing up too. We can't use those words. We definitely had some good funny ones too. Like we had, because we knew people like that growing up, you know, and at times we were like
we
those
were
people.
that too.
We were that too.
We got called out for it.
And we got called out.
Nobody could get called out for that now.
You can't even get called out for that no more.
You can't, because the whole point.
And feminist movement will come down your back if you do.
Oh yeah. The whole point of microaggression is you have to be very careful of what you say and what you do.
Yo, I got some examples. Can I please read them?
All right, let's get into it. Let's do it.
All right.
Microaggression.
So he said 3 of my favorite.
So before you even get into this, is an idea of let's kind of give some background on microaggression.
Oh yeah,
right?
please do.
And then you'll get right into an example, because in microaggression, is kind of these subtle kind of things that happen where the person who's doing the aggression or
the aggressor,
offending the aggressor,
right? Yeah,
might not notice. Unconsciously might be offending someone, and unconsciously it might be really just hurting that person's feelings without knowing. So you need to put that person in check. Go ahead.
One example that could be considered, that is considered, you know, microaggression, is asking someone, "Where were you born?"
Yeah.
Right. So where were you born is implying
where are you from,
or where are you from, or where were you born? That's implying that they're foreign.
They're foreigners.
Therefore, you're some kind of racist because they're not from here. You're not accepting of that. We used to call that getting to know someone. That is today considered a microaggression.
That's one of the regular questions, just asking what your first name.
Like if you ask like an Asian or anyone really, you know, where are you from? Because you can tell they're not from here. You know, like that's really it. You know, that's kind of where those questions come from. But that doesn't necessarily.
But they don't take it like that.
Yeah, because even when you travel and you'll get asked like, "Where were you born?" People don't ask you that out of hate. You can tell that they're like being like, "Wow, like what brings you here?" You know, like in a good way,
genuine
in a genuine way. And that's exactly the thing. Is like we're losing kind of touch. That we're losing empathy. Is what we're losing.
We're losing empathy.
So it's like I get how that could be an aggressive thing. Like if if someone was to ask you where you're from, and you can see in the context and the voice and the way they're using it, then you might feel unwelcome. That could be possible.
Of course. But to make a statement that every time somebody asks that,
exactly. But just to call that statement a microaggression, we're losing empathy of feelings and context. So we're kind of. So you have anything?
So I have one. This is a one I think you had in a different way, but we only have one human race.
That's a microaggression.
That's a microaggression.
How many human races do we have? Sounded like a fact.
Yeah. But that's equivalent to saying like all lives matter, kind of thing. You know, it's like very similar. So we only have one human race. It's like, yeah, but you're discounting all the different races and things like that, you know, and in light of because the reason all lives matter is so offensive now to me is because Black lives matter.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? There's no way around it. It's so offensive because now with that you're saying that
you're diminishing the importance of Black Lives Matter by
and the movement
claiming that all lives matter. That's a microaggression.
Exactly.
And that's such a beautiful statement, you know, all lives matter. Not to say that there's a problem with the statement, just a statement, Black Lives Matter. But, you know, why can't you also say all lives matter and that be equally beautiful? You know, it's lives matter. But that's a microaggression in 2017.
And then you remember one of the episodes I mentioned, so this is more of an act where holding the door for a woman.
That's a microaggression.
Yeah. So,
why is that a microaggression? Explain it to them.
Because you're looking at them as helpless. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you're looking at women as being helpless and incapable of doing that themselves.
I kid you not.
And that's real. That's, you know what
I'm saying?
Like,
real.
Feminists would I'm not saying I can't speak across the board, but this is like a belief that they would.
I kid you not, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
No more than like 6 or 7 years ago, if you didn't hold the door for a woman, you were considered someone who's not a gentleman. 6, 7 years later, that's a microaggression.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because that's like a gentleman thing to do, you know.
But that's the evolution of what political correctness
has done. Political correctness has taken us.
You know, and different movements that's caused us to isolate different people in our society.
All it does is victimize people. That's all it's really doing is victimizing people.
Yeah, victimizing people, yeah.
So it kind of creates like this division. It makes everybody, and like, where are we heading at this rate? You know, at this rate, if we continue, we're going to be basically just robots that don't even look or talk to each other because everyone is a victim.
Yeah, because it closes the dialogue. That's what it does. Because because with that mentality, if something is bothersome to someone or something just not right, forget about bothersome. If something's just not ethically right, the only person who's able to call out another woman, the only person who's able to call out women are other women, right? Or a black individual only be another black individual. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like no one else can be invited to the conversation because it's just like you don't understand the experience. And even in trying to get into the heart of some of these things to go from like, you're just isolated, you know? Who do you think?
Well, just real quick, my favorite microaggression is God bless you. That's my favorite one. Cause that used to be courteous. Like that was truly courteous. I remember not saying God bless you to people and like, you know, a parent or family member calling you out on it. But that's now considered a microaggression. So what I carried on as a child thinking like, yo, is it the correct thing to say people's God bless you? Is wrong because you're implying that they believe in God. And you know, that's considered like some kind of negative thing. Like God, you know, and it's like I could go to another country and I can go to another country and, or, you know, or just be around people of different religion. And if they say, you know, I'm gonna give an example. Like if a Muslim was to say, Allah bless you, right? I'm not going to be offended by that because I feel like ultimately, you know, I know where it's coming from your heart. And that's really what should really matter.
Or if you are, just be open to having the conversation there.
You don't have to have a conversation, accept the God bless you and keep it moving.
Yeah. But the point is, let's say like, you know, that can be an opportunity for, you know, somebody to have a conversation around it and two people just talk about their faith. You know what I'm saying? That's no longer even, you know? But you know what's a crazy one? I don't know if you heard of this one. Microaggression of omission.
Whoa, that was fancy.
That's just a fancy term of saying what you didn't say. So omission. So you can be a microaggressor of what you didn't say.
So you can not say something and still be a racist?
Yes.
That's what you just said. You said you can say you cannot say something and still be a racist.
Exactly. So like, because it's a certain norm in our interactions now. It's like you gave the example of people being robots. So you should already kind of know these norms, right? So not saying something and holding back on something can be omission and really like not acknowledging, not standing up for those people, right? So you can't even stay out of it no more because staying out of it is omission. Either you're with this, and if you're not with this, then
by not being with it, you're against it.
Exactly.
And being against it basically means you're a sexist, a racist, a bigot,
exactly.
all of that bad
so
stuff.
It's not only that you have to walk on eggshells and be careful what you say.
You got to walk that line.
You have to actually go into that and make sure like
you swimming with them. Like
make sure you swimming with them.
Yeah. Don't just stay out the pool thinking you're safe. You got to
But think about that. Oppression of speech at its best.
Yeah. So much for freedom of speech.
So much for that. Freedom of speech only if you agree.
Okay.
Or only if it's aligned with the freedom, or if you're not being too aggressive or hurting people. But some are contingency. None of that is freedom of speech.
Okay, yeah.
You know, if we want to put a whole bunch of contingencies, this is just do away with it.
It's no longer freedom.
With
this many contingencies as we're dealing with today, and we're really not even covering the surface. If that, it's no longer freedom, and at the rate it's going, it's not gonna be.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's crazy freedom right there.
That's dope. So I guess this is a good leeway into white privilege.
Oh, white privilege. Yeah.
White privilege.
This is a big one because I feel like this is the I think this is the trendy one right now. You know, where everyone's talking about it. I know it sounds crazy, but this is the one that you got to be with this.
Oh yeah.
You know
especially if you're not white. If you're not white and you're not with this, then you're lost.
Exactly. If you're not white and you don't see what white privilege is in this country, then what's happening now is you're automatically put in a box of these terms: racism, just ignorant and bigoted. And
now, what is white privilege exactly? Because I'm having a hard time even understanding what white privilege is.
That's the thing. A lot of people can't explain what white privilege is, but well, we give a stab at it. So, in a sense, is white people have a certain advantage in this country that they gotta acknowledge, and one of those is just plainly this is one that's very bothersome to me. Just acknowledge that you're racist. Right? Like, as a standard for us to even have a conversation, as a white man, you need to acknowledge that you're racist.
That's what white privilege
That's the beginning of the conversation.
It kind of implies that.
Exactly.
Okay.
No. It's not only that it implies it. These are direct things that oh, yeah. This is not implications, bro. If this is, for us to start the conversation, it's a realization that you're white, you're privileged, and you have unbiased racism.
Unbiased racism.
Yeah, you have unconscious, better word said. Sorry, unconscious racism. Like you might not be aware of it.
Bro, I'm getting a headache. I kid you not.
Yeah, but
just listening to you're spinning me around.
It's not easy to decipher the whole thing because I've spoken to different people who have a strong stance on it, and I feel like you get kind of little different point of views on it. But it does go back to white people acknowledging that they're superior, and because of that superiority, now they have to kind of like let go of some of that privilege, do something with that innate privilege.
I feel like this is the kind of like what I know, or at least what I feel. You see, I didn't know all of that, but I do feel as a Hispanic, minority, obviously, I do feel like whites have somewhat of an advantage. And my logic, this is just me, my logic thinking, I feel like all the keys as far as whether it's, job, career, or getting into a college, or, basically the man that will most likely sign your paycheck in this country will be a white man.
Yeah.
Right. So the white man usually has the keys.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the analogy I use.
But does that mean?
Well, so this is just what I think, just me personally. So I feel like ultimately, because of that, if you have two like equal, guys going for a job, for example, I would say that if the white guy is in terms of making that decision, he is more likely, if they're both equal, to go with his equal counterpart versus someone else. That's as big of a privilege that I say white privilege is.
Yeah, but that's just the state of our country, the head start the white man had in this country. Exactly. These are all things that
here's my problem. White privilege creates hate against white men.
They're the most oppressed in their speech, I feel.
Honestly, this is what I honestly feel. I feel like if you're a white man, it is hard to be openly proud to be a white man. Oh. This is an example of what I mean. A black man can go to the middle of the street and yell, "I am happy and proud to be a black man." A Hispanic man can go in there and say, "Glad to be Puerto Rican, Dominican, Mexican." If a white man does that, I'm not saying they can't. I just think that it's gonna rub people the wrong way. Yeah. And it's because the white man is the victim to all these new, they're the victims because they're the ones that are offending women. They're the ones that are straight white men. They're the ones offending gays. They're the ones offending all minorities.
But so they're the victims. But what happens is all non-whites are the victims.
Turn themselves into victims.
They turn themselves as victims and put the lens on the white,
the hatred lens.
You know what I'm saying? And
they make them into haters. Like they punish them for their own feelings of feeling victimized.
Because what they say is, even if you haven't been targeted by discrimination, this is where microaggression comes back. There is a sense of microaggression that you have been targeted as a non-white. You know what I'm saying? So as you've been targeted, that you are a victim. You might not realize that you're a victim, but you have to acknowledge that you're a victim.
Yeah.
Because that's just a state of where our country is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? As far as that term and what that means. Yeah. So they have an innate privilege no matter what. I do agree, yeah, but a lot of our population here is white. They had hundreds of years head start in a lot of different.
So they have.
Yeah, I guess they have
more of a, yeah. They more. That's
but
perfect.
Not the way the white privilege is defined now.
Exactly.
That's what the problem
it's defined
is.
so wrong.
You
Like,
can say they have an advantage. Yeah, I feel like you can. You know, we can back that up.
They were here first. Well,
they were here first. Have a head start.
Yeah,
kind of first. You know, killed off Native Americans.
Yeah,
so we go back to history and different things that happen.
Nobody defends those people though, so we're not talking about them. Yeah.
But it's just, you know, this is causing even more division.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how this is causing any hope of reconciliation.
I don't think that's the goal. The goal is to turn everybody into a basket case, an emotional basket case. That's the goal ultimately, because it's not for unity. This isn't the concept of unity. You know, maybe if you told people, hey, you know, if someone asks you where you're born, that means that they're happy and they want to learn about you. You know, that means they want to get to know you. If you tell people that, then maybe, you know, maybe if people say, hey, maybe God bless you just means that maybe you don't believe in God, but they believe in God and their God is good. So, you know, they're trying to bless you. Like, it's not something that you should be offended by. You know, it's a kind gesture. We're turning kind gestures into negative things.
There's no longer diversity in the sense of speech, really. You know what I'm saying?
But I honestly, bro, I really do feel bad for the white man. I need to say that again. I do, because I can't imagine. Like, for example, you know, we can go up to an Asian, a black, or Mexican, or anything, and ask them where you're from, and they might not feel microaggression from us because they might see that, you know what, we're one of them. We're a minority. Man, but if you're a white guy, like, you can't hold the door for a woman. You can't do anything. You're always the bad guy. The white guy's never the good guy. Yeah. He's the bad guy in every situation.
That can't be healthy. No matter if they have advantage. Yeah, everybody has it. I don't blame that white man more than I blame any other person.
They didn't choose to be white.
Yeah.
They didn't opt to be white. It's not the choice they made.
Yeah.
You know what? Now I guess we're trying to guilt them into being into why they're white. But isn't that ultimately what whites once did to blacks? Like, you know, it's the same kind of concept where it's like you're guilting them, you're making them feel bad or they're wrong for being what they are. You know, through all these terms. So I think that that doesn't create any unity. It doesn't create a healthy society
at all.
For sure, it doesn't.
Again, it just causes division and victimizes people
and creates a lot of weirdos.
And a lot of people.
People are weird, bro. Let's just. I feel like you're being way too kind to these people. These people are odd, weird people.
Like, when you say these people, who are you talking about?
These basket cases, these microaggressors, these
not
the microaggressors, sorry, the victims of microaggression and all these weird ideologies. Yeah, and usually the victims of these victimized ideologies, you know, which basically just create a victim out of yourself kind of thinking. The real victims of that are the college students, because they're the ones that are being taught.
Future generation.
The future generation, the millennials, the people we usually talk about.
Our working force, our leaders, our next politicians.
That's so scary, yes.
Yeah, man.
And I think what's even scary, those are like our future, you know, like soldiers too. You never know. Like, these might be the people fighting for freedom. People you
soldiers. Soldiers. Just talked about microaggression. nothing soldier. No Purple Heart. I got no Purple Hearts. Like, because one a quick term, but you know, in college campuses.
Yeah.
I won't say in college campuses, not across the board yet, but people can look this up. University of Wisconsin. The first year students are called freshmen. Yeah. You can no longer call them freshmen.
Why?
Because how do you know they're men? They can be women. They can be women. You know what I'm saying? Like, the students coming in, so you have to.
So there was a woman that stood up and said, after all these years, this has now become offensive because it's called freshmen, not fresh women.
Yeah, because you're isolating them. Again, I don't know the story behind this. So I won't speak on the story, but I'm guessing it wasn't a man who stood up and said freshman. I'm guessing it was a woman. You know,
someone stood up and said
someone
this is
stood
offensive.
up and say. And ultimately, you have to call them now first year students.
Okay. Good to know.
Because, that's
insane.
That's just giving you a little glimpse of what you're talking about, our next generation, and how much we have to protect them.
And I guess just to finish off on that, I would say a fun little fact. I think the number's higher than this because I'm reading an older article, but 1 in 4 college students are on antidepressants, which is drugs to make you happy.
Or to ease the stress and pain, the sadness,
the sadness of this
like
terrible American life that we live.
Like I said, man, it's a denial of realities. You can't live like that. All of these that we're mentioning is a form of.
What if you live on social media? well, nah. You know what? That's gonna take us off topic. But
No,
that is the
really
theme.
quick.
That is the theme of all of this. It's kind of running away from reality.
If you live on social media, that's exactly the point. That is your reality. It doesn't mean it is reality. But if you don't step out of that, you'll never know.
And it's like it's another way to get away from real reality.
But you know why these terms that we're speaking about are so powerful? Because these are the terms that permeated into our media, right? Everyday TV permeated into our
education,
yes. Right? College campuses, just our culture. College campus is probably the biggest one. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to have a certain view on a college campus. And again, a lot of them, right? We can't say all of them. I'm sure there's some exceptions out there, but for most part, it's a certain way you need to move, certain way you need to think, to be aligned in where this country is, you know, standing on, and all these terms and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
What other terms, man? Do you think?
Another one that was real tricky, man. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to even understand what it meant. I mean, a lot of these they're really tough to understand. But Islamophobia was a tricky one, because Islamophobia basically means like hatred against Muslims.
But it doesn't.
No. Well, no, that's what the Islamophobia means.
Yeah.
It gets tricky because
it's connected to racism.
It's connected to racism, but Islam isn't a race. See how tricky that is?
Yeah.
Islam isn't a race, but Islamophobia is a kind of racism.
And they connected to a people in order to make it look like we're hating all Muslims.
Yeah.
You know? And what the heart of Islamophobia is really hating the ideologies of Islam.
Yes.
Which most people will not deny. Their ideologies
if you live in America,
something that's admirable. And their ideology is something that's contrary to Western civilization. Yeah. In a lot of ways. Yeah. And again, it happens to be that there are Muslims who follow this Islamic laws and this rhetoric and you know, saying this way of living.
Yeah.
But again, that happens to be, and the heart of it is in Islam.
Yeah.
And most people won't deny that. But as soon as you say that, they'll tell you can't categorize a whole group of people, because it's not all Muslims. Yeah, I understand it's not all Muslims, but Islam's ideologies are grounded on things that are contrary to Western civilization.
And the people that say this don't even know what these ideologies are. Like, you'll have women walking alone, walking, revealing legs and stuff like that, and are over here, you know, praising Islam and basically bashing those who basically say, I don't agree with a lot of like Islamic ideology. You get called an Islamophobe for that by people who really don't understand. Like, girl, if you was out there, you would probably get stoned for looking like that, you know? But they don't even know that. They just quick to victimize people. They're just quick to call people racist and call people
because
names.
They need something to label you as.
But if you want to see like
it's a reality. Again, it's a reality. You know what I'm saying? This is not an opinion. It's a reality.
Yeah, no, it's a reality. And I feel like if you want to see what's like the outcome or the outcry from that, you go out to Sweden and London, you see, you know, what happens when you unite, you know, when you bring in people, when you invade, you know, these countries with people that have these, because
that's so scary that it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Because the people that it's happening, but they don't show it on our news. They don't. So you got to go out and actually look for it. Yeah. When you go out and look for it, you'll see that there's people getting terrorist attacks on a weekly basis. You know, and again, they have these the people of Islam. They're the extremists, right? So not all Muslims are extremists. That's the difference. So
exactly.
That's
for sure. And I agree with
that. Not all Muslims are extremists.
Not at all.
Islam is just the ideology. Not all Muslims follow the ideology to a T.
Exactly.
Especially the violent part. That's the difference. That's the one that most quote unquote Islamophobes have a problem with. Is the violent ones, you know? Because obviously here in America we have freedom of religion. But on top of that, you can't just kill a woman just because she's not with a man. Like, you can't do crazy. You can't just rape kids. Like, they have these kind of things out there, you know? So obviously, like, it's, you know what it is? It's a tricky way in the way they put the term Islamophobe, because it kind of just makes you, you know, it's deceiving. It's what it is, you know? It basically, just because you hate, not because you hate, but just because you dislike or don't agree.
No, it's because the heart of it is because you fear. Having a fear of Islam does not equate to having a hate to
How
all
can you
Muslims.
not fear that ideology if you live in America? It's because you don't know it. The only reason you will not
exactly.
hate
There
that,
you go.
not hate. You know what? Yeah. You know, I will go as far as saying, yeah. If you do not hate that ideology, again, it's an ideology. It's not a race. It's not a religion. It's an ideology. If you do not hate that and you live in America, it's simply because you don't understand it. You just don't understand it. So I feel like for those that, you know, are quick to attack people, you got to educate yourself on that.
Yeah. Because it's ultimately the idea of that Islam is, you know,
That's-
because if we go by that same, if we want to stay consistent and we can go by that, anybody who fears liberalism or conservatism, then he needs to be labeled, whatever that term would be. You know what I'm saying?
They won't do that.
They won't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just not convenient right
Yeah.
now. Because of things going on, you put a label on that. But again, I'm gonna keep saying this. It's just really a denial of reality. Because what we're talking about Islam is not me being biased. It's just the reality. It's like me telling you in this part of the world, this is what's happening. All right, I'm a racist because of that. Oh yes, it happens to be that Muslims are doing this. But what do I hate all Muslims? No, I know Muslims.
No, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who I'm close with. You know what I'm saying? But it's just
They don't all follow the ideology to the T. You know who follows the ideology to a T?
Islam.
Those that come from Islamic states.
Yes.
And they're not at all interested in assimilation. They're not at all, you know, a lot of our Muslim friends and neighbors that we know have assimilated. They have come here and said, okay, that is a girl by herself. I will not rape her.
Yeah.
That's called assimilating. When you refuse to assimilate, you see a girl alone and you say, hey, I should rape her. I am by my ideology entitled to rape her.
Exactly.
And now
That's part of their ideology.
That's part of their ideology.
I don't care what you think. It's not opinion.
No, it's not
That's
our
just part-
opinion. That's part of their
it's part of their
ideology. If you
ideology.
had someone who actually believed and followed that ideology, would tell you that yes, they do believe that.
Exactly.
And if you go to countries where they are being invaded by, you know, people of the Islamic State, you will see that the rape rate is extremely high. Like Sweden, there's girls getting raped like crazy. It's because of that. They're not interested in assimilating. So,
but
that doesn't mean that you hate all Muslims, and that's such a tricky one because it's like they created this like weird narrative for
No,
it.
but you know what it is? It's just a clever way, creative way, clever to suppress people's speech or have anything negative to say about Islam.
That's exactly what.
That's
it is.
exactly what it is.
That's
Because now
exactly
with
what
that
it is.
term, you're labeled as something you're not. So now any time you speak against, again, what is this? A reality that's happening. You're labeled and put into a box as you hate all Muslims.
You hate all Muslims, yeah.
So what is it? If you ask me, that's the only way I can describe it. It's just an attempt to suppress your speech.
It's not an attempt. It is. That's exactly what it is. You're absolutely
I say
right.
an attempt because, you know, people still speaking up and they should, rightly so, because
I mean, we still got freedom of speech. We might as well use it while we can.
we're doing this podcast. We're talking
Yeah.
here about it, you know what I'm saying? But that's the point there.
Yeah.
That's just an attempt to suppress people's speech who specifically have anything negative to say about Islam.
Yeah. But it's like,
You see?
but then again, anyone
There's
who
the
would
coin.
have any negative to say about it is an informed, you know, individual from a Western civilization that clearly this is why our civilization looks like this and their civilization looks like that. You know, because obviously you can't grow as a society and as a country with those kind of, you know, rules in place, that kind of ideology in place. You can't.
Those ideologies, why we should be so strongly against that is because they can't coexist with Western civilization.
Exactly.
If they come here, they take over this.
Bro, look at
ideology. You know what I'm
Europe. We
saying?
don't have to say if.
Yeah.
We can literally watch what's happening.
I'm saying if here, but in Europe it's already happened.
It's already happened. You there's an experiment. It's like we don't have to predict what would happen. Just look at Europe and it's actually happening. The experiment is happening and it's you know.
but again, the battle, I think the battle should always be between just good and evil. Like what's good and what's bad.
But it comes down to, man, for you to believe in good and evil, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
For you to believe in good and evil, you got to believe in God. If
But
you don't
man-
believe in God, I know.
No, that's a different one. Ultimately, yeah, but also to think that good and evil is subjective, it's kind of foolish.
Because God is subjective to them. If God
But
is,
that's kind of foolish, bro. Like for example, you cannot. I don't care what you believe in. You can't look at me in my eyes and tell me that raping a 12-year-old girl could be something good.
what if she's alone? That's their ideology.
You see, that's just ridiculous.
If she's alone,
That's just ridiculous because now you're going into conversations of
You know what happened?
this is what you get into. You're trying to not offend anybody. You're trying to be accepting of everything. So
in our civilization, we're not acceptance of that. We were taught not to be accepting of that. We were taught not to do that.
And
so it's okay for us to be wired and say that's wrong. For example, what happens, in Islam ideology if a woman commits adultery? She's stoned to death.
She's stoned to death, and women cannot be witnesses there.
But only her is stoned to death. That's the interesting part.
Yeah, not the men.
Not the man that also committed adultery. So men are allowed to commit adultery, be just fine. Women are allowed to be stoned to death.
Yeah.
And then you have women calling people Islamophobes. I don't agree with the idea that you should die for cheating.
Don't.
And I am a hater of all Muslims. No, not all Muslims believe that. I think that needs to be really said. Not all Muslims believe that,
But in Islam, that is the ideologies they live by.
Yes.
That's the point.
That is a fact.
You know what I'm saying? That's just so that's my point. So in you being called that and connecting it to hating all Muslim is just so inaccurate. Because now you're just suppressing my speech, talking about any injustice. I wonder why, I don't know where you were going, if you were going somewhere else, but I wonder why feminists are not fighting in those countries for those women's rights.
You know what feminists are doing out in Sweden right now? Bro, it is freakish what's going on.
That's good. That's good.
It's freakish what's going on. All right, so they're wearing hijabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have white women wearing hijabs and everything. So they're actually promoting it. And they have commercials. Yo, I was freaked out when I seen this, but they had commercials out in Sweden of promoting hijabs. So to answer your question, you know what these feminist women are doing? They're promoting it. And if we are out here calling people Islamophobic or Islamophobic, for disagreeing with this ideology, then I guess we're kind of heading towards the same place. We're not there today, but at the rate we're going, we're already suppressing those that disagree with the ideology. That's the start. How you think they got to where they at in Sweden right now? Where they at in London right now? That's how you get there. You get there with a start, and the start here is suppressing those that don't agree with that ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't we agree with the ideology? Because we're Western civilization.
Yeah, but other countries, it wasn't totally different. You look Euro, stuff like that. They slowly were kind of having this certain
very liberal, very
liberal, very open to everything.
And that's so stupid. That's so stupid because it comes from that thinking of everyone is like us in the world.
Yeah,
you idiot. If you was just to educate yourself and realize that no, not everyone has the same ideologies as in Western civilization. The bubble you live in is not the whole world.
Yeah, man. That's why we lock our doors, bro. Right or wrong. Yeah. You're gonna say I lock my door because everybody's equal. You want to love everybody, yeah. But at the same time, not everybody stands and believes your values, your morals. Not everybody just has those.
Yeah.
So it's okay to be open and say and I think that example came to mind now because I'm thinking let's say a family. You know what I'm saying? Am I prejudiced because I don't want to move my family in a certain neighborhood? Prejudice all those people who live in that neighborhood now? Or, I lock my door?
No, you said it right. You lock your door because you understand that not everybody has your good values and morals.
Not everybody will leave their doors wide open, my brother.
But London did. London did. Sweden did. They left the doors wide open.
Oh, wide open. Why? Because it's offensive.
And it's loving to bring everybody in.
It's offensive not to bring people. That's what I'm saying. It's offensive not to bring. And the loving thing is just be acceptance. And
all those casualties, how's the love there? And that's the reality. But again, with these kind of terms, and if we don't educate ourselves on what these terms are actually, what is the true agenda of these terms? What are they really getting at?
So what's the term? Some of the terms you mentioned today?
Xenophobia was another one that we discussed.
Xenophobia.
Xenophobia is interesting.
Yeah, do you have the definition behind that one?
I actually don't, but just from the top of my head, it's pretty much fear of foreign.
Yeah, I think I have something. I don't know if it's the exact definition or what, but it's really hate against other people from other countries.
Yeah. How can you, Americans, everyone here from another country.
Every single person.
How did we come up with this definition just 6-7 years ago? Now, mind you, this is all new. I kid you not. 7 years ago, I never heard of none of these words. If I would have asked you 7 years ago, if I would have asked you in 2010,
I don't know.
If I would have asked you in 2010, define xenophobia, you would have said, what is that?
Let's stop playing.
Microaggression, you would have said, when I first heard microaggression, I said little aggression. A little bit.
Yeah, little aggression.
It's micro, but no, it's, so like these terms weren't around 5-6 years ago and they're out today. So how did we get to xenophobia here? How do we have a,
how did we get there?
Man,
I think really a state of where our country's at.
Everything goes right now, or I guess in a way, nothing goes.
Yeah, everything goes, nothing goes.
And as long as you're a victim, if you're a victim, man, if you're a victim, everyone is
you
a victim.
victimize yourself, you have power.
I think you forfeit power when you victimize yourself.
Yeah, but in their lens, they have power. They feel
being a victim is powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful because you free yourself from responsibility.
Does that sound like a growing nation? Being a victim is power.
That sounds like a regressive nation.
That's exactly what it is.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking a step back and not like this nation was built on
that's called progressive
stepping up to responsibility and stuff like that. All progressive, which
man.
is a brilliant term. Progressive.
I really want to get into this one. I hope we have time.
Yeah, go ahead.
And honestly, is with these political correctness, crap done did to everything, and one of the ones that's really weirded me out is that you hearing in these schools where you can't call kids boy or girl. Yeah,
that
let's speak on that.
That one gets to me.
First of all,
that one rubs me the
I don't have any kids. You don't have any kids, bro. But I don't know about you. I'm not sending my kids to school where you will not refer to them as their gender.
Yo, I'll make this statement. One, I think that's straight.
You look pissed off right now, bro.
Yeah, I kind of am, to be honest. For some reason, this gets to me, man, because this is so strategic, man.
What is the strategy? You say strategic. I need to hear the strategy. I know the strategy. I want to hear you speak.
Is a societal war that they're doing through saying that there's no male and female in simple terms, So because when you disrupt that, really anything goes, right? Like one of the example that gets to me, I think we spoke about this, is like, for example, the idea of bathrooms being inviting, gender neutral. Yo, that is such foolishness. And you know why this guy seems pissed off? Because they move it like it's trying to appease the 0.1% transgender population. Literally, it's 0.1%. I'm like, you're not appealing to the transgender population when you're doing a rule like this. That you know
what is the size of the population again about?
The size of what, transgender? Yeah, like 0.2% of the population here is transgender. Less than 1% of the population. I know it's less than 0.5, right? Yeah. I'm gonna be nice and say, let's say 0.5%, but that's less than 1%. It's transgender. So to say that rule is to be inviting to all people is just a lie.
It's a big lie.
It's a big lie. You know who is inviting to? I told you this before.
Yeah.
Pedophiles. You know what I'm saying? People who are just sick and wanting. That's who. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to think it's okay that people can speak on it as something that's normal and okay, it's just foolish.
I think my biggest issue is that when you're telling kids that they're not a boy or a girl, you're telling them that gender doesn't matter.
You're telling them that gender doesn't matter. Gender
matters. And my thing is that, I understand that, if you grow older and ultimately you want to be the opposite gender, then you should make that decision knowing your original gender.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what that causes gender confusion. I don't think that's a real term. I may have just made that up. But with all these terms that these people make up, I'm allowed to make one up, right? So
it take a stab at it.
Gender confusion, right? So if you're a 5-year-old and you have not been called boy or girl, and you are a boy,
you have to say his or them.
No, you can't say his.
Oh, his is gender. That's gender. My fault. You have to say them.
Them, they, anything that doesn't relate to gender.
That's foolish.
And my thing is that
this is talking about new. This is really new.
Real quick, wouldn't that? My thing is that's really new. Yeah, that's literally like the last 2 or 3 years. But wouldn't that cause true gender confusion? And what is their ultimate goal here? Because genders matter. There's no coming around that. So what is their ultimate goal in creating gender confusion?
Disrupt our society.
We did speak of that fertility rate.
Yeah, because gender matters for several reasons. Since the beginning of time, you could look at different societies, there was a role that a male played and a female played. Right? And we
so there's a design between.
There's a design between that. There's a sense of responsibility. But now, like what we mentioned in one of the episodes, I don't even know no more. I don't really care how many gender things you could pick from on Facebook now. But that's just
58.
Come on, that's
there's not 58.
The more I think about it, the more like I get a little angry.
There's not 58.
It became like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I still laugh about it, but it's just annoying now because this is something that's disrupting our economy.
Here's what I was gonna say. I almost lost it, and I don't want to lose it. I feel like there are two things, and obviously I'm a God-fearing man, so I believe in God. And I feel like God gave you complete free will. And I feel like there's two things that you don't have free will or freedom to. And or that you just can't change. And that's your gender and your race. You're free to do everything else, but you can't change that. You don't choose to be a race. Yeah. You don't choose to be a race. You don't choose to be a gender. That's sacred. That's why we feel some kind of way when either is challenged. Naturally. You can go anywhere around the world, go to any culture. You challenge in any human being, either their race or their gender, and it's going to hit a soft spot.
Yeah.
Because it's sacred. That's what it is. It's sacred. You can't change that. You can call someone dumb. You can call someone stupid, fat, skinny, ugly. Gender and race are very, very sensitive. You can't change that. We're living in a society that they're telling us that we can.
Yeah, that we can and we can be.
People they're like gender transracial too, right? Like
if there's 53, bro, I'm sure there's about 50 I don't know about.
No. There's transracial that exists. Transracial. So you could become. They're pushing this. You can be
transracial.
Transracial. Yeah, you can become something else. So you can be like, you see, like you're a Hispanic man. If you wake up feeling Asian, according to these people, you can very well be an Asian.
You see, like, so, part of the strategic part behind it is they're just devaluing the intricacies and the beauty of just different kinds.
They're flipping the design on his head. That's what I say.
They did this survey where, I'm trying to remember where I saw this, but they asked, I think, in this generation now, like, people had dogs and a human being and a stranger human being, and they both thrown in the water, both are drowning. People will pick the dog, their dog, over a stranger human being because part of it is human are no better than
love is subjective now,
and love is just a feeling. I love that dog. A human is just a human. We're all on the same playing field.
I know that,
and that's offensive. But quite frankly, we're not all on the same playing field. We're saying we have more worth than a dog.
Whoa, watch it.
We do have.
I'm pretty sure there's some kind of word for animal hate, and
I know it is. I know some hate mail for that, son. But that's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure, and that's funny. But I'm sure there's a word for that. People can label us as
they have a word for everything. Say, so,
but it's
always and it's crazy because it's like they're the victims. They're the victims, but ultimately it's the other party that gets called all these racist names. And in my eyes, at least, I think those are the real victims. I think if your feelings are hurt because someone asks you a question like where you live or where you from or whatever, or or says a statement like all lives matter, you're not a victim. The person who you're calling a racist or a sexist or a bigot, that's the victim. Yeah. Especially when you're saying that they are doing that unconsciously and yet they're still, these are hateful terms. Like if people ever open up a history book and see what true racism was like, and true racism still exists today.
People are still racist. That's not dismissing that.
But these aren't racist acts. This isn't a sign of racism, in my opinion.
So a lot of what we spoke about today this is how I feel. Feelings rule facts in our culture now. Feelings rule facts, and victims are the heroes. It's kind of how I feel.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so now it's kind of not about the truth, the unity behind it. It's about like this sense of division in a very deceitful way.
Yeah, everything is made to push us further apart. Where are all these cool terms to bring us closer together?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah. These terms.
What are these terms that says, hey, if somebody says this, and that means they want to get to know you? Like, if somebody was to ask you, like, where were you born? That probably means they want to get to know you. How come that's not a term? Like, why does it always got to be a hating term? That's kind of what I want to get to.
That's the heart of it, the division behind it.
The heart of it is regression.
Yeah.
The heart of it is making us more socially inept with less empathy. Pretty much robots.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be less than animals at this rate.
Yeah, man, that's good right there. So, yeah, man, I know this is a glimpse. I don't know if you had other thoughts.
No.
But this is a glimpse of what we're about to speak about season 2. Get into definitely deeper topics. But this is definitely really eye-opening conversations that we're about to have. And I feel like we just gave like a snippet, but it'll be interesting as we get deeper into specific conversations on this. Yeah. As far as the terms, our country, direction is heading and things like that, and the tolerance or intolerance and things like that.
We're heading, this was just a little glimpse. We're definitely heading into a deeper place now.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, man, I hope everybody enjoyed this. This is it right here. We spoke a little bit about our culture to give a little introduction to season 2. But stay tuned because we're getting deeper into these topics and things we're about to speak about. So yeah, Macallan and Friends, brought to you by Upstream.
You know, living with you, it hasn't been easy. People see me, but they think of you. Now with all this going on, this is going to be worse than ever.
It don't have to be.
No, sure it does.
Why? You got a lot going on, kid.
What, my last name? That's the reason I got a decent job. That's the reason why people deal with me in the first place. Now I start to get a little ahead. I start to get a little something for myself. And this happens. Now I'm asking you as a favor not to go through with this, okay? This is only going to end up bad for you, and it's going to end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
That's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother.